The big hole in the man's chest made it clear something serious had happened. To stop the trouble he caused, someone explained, we needed unfeathered firefighters and 14 top-level mage hunters. Jin-Woo stared at the body, wondering who it could be. Is that? He started to ask. Adam nodded sadly, confirming his fears. I thought you'd recognize him. It's Hunter Christopher Reed, someone said. Jin-Woo's eyes went wide. This didn't make sense at all. A top hunter like Mr. Reed getting murdered seemed impossible. We couldn't believe it either, but Mr. Reed was definitely killed. The video ended with a firefighter flipping the body over. Jin-Woo checked out the American guy's injuries. There was a hole in his chest and some really bad cuts all over him. Then Adam pulled out some photos from his pocket. These are pictures of the creature that Hunter Command thinks did this, he said. Jin-Woo looked at the photos, surprised. Wait, you're saying this is a creature? He asked. Shocked it wasn't a person, he quickly grabbed Adam with some kind of power and pulled him close. Whoa! Adam's eyes went wide as Jin-Woo yanked him by the collar. They were so close their noses almost bumped. Jin-Woo glared at him like a wild animal about to pounce. If you're messing with me you'll regret it. Jin-Woo growled. His eyes gleamed fiercely, and he wasn't kidding around. Adam's collar tightened, choking him a bit. No! Don't do it, he shouted. But he wasn't talking to Jin-Woo. The other hunters in the cabin nearly pounced on Jin-Woo. But Adam's desperate cries stopped them from going further. Wait a minute. Adam blurted out, rushing to explain. The creature in that photo came out of a dungeon. He might not even be who you think he is. A dungeon. Jin-Woo eased his hold on Adam's shirt, confusion flickering across his face. Adam caught his breath and rushed on. His energy felt just like a monster's, and without any warning, he went after one of our top S-rank hunters. Jin-Woo stared at the photos Adam had handed him. The person caught on the security camera was his father. Wait, my dad left a dungeon and just attacked some hunters? Jin-Woo asked, shocked. Adam kept talking to help Jin-Woo understand what was going on. Remember when there was that huge accidental explosion at the Hunter Command Center? How could Jin-Woo forget? That shocking incident had everyone on edge. People were buzzing with theories. Some thought it was a secret experiment gone wrong. Others believed a powerful hunter had lost control, and a few even rumored that two top S-rank hunters had clashed in a heated fight. Are you saying my dad was behind all that chaos? Jin-Woo asked, shocked. Adam gave a determined nod. He took down one of our hunters without any trouble, and then he was gone. The Hunter Command Center tried to track him down in secret, but we couldn't find a single clue. It was like he just disappeared into thin air. Jin-Woo didn't say a word as he listened. I get how you feel, Hunter Sung, someone said, but all the signs point to him. This guy was strong enough to take down an S-rank hunter, had already attacked one of us, and then vanished without leaving a trace. The Hunter Command Center had good reason to think something was off about the guy pretending to be Ilwan Sung, but even if Adam was telling the truth, Jin-Woo still had one big question. He squinted at him. Why show me these photos? He asked. Because of the International Guild Conference. Adam replied. Jin-Woo raised an eyebrow. What's that got to do with anything? Adam explained. The leaders here are planning to hand out wanted posters of this guy during the conference. Hunters from all over the world will be there, so it turned out they weren't keeping things secret anymore. The US government was super angry about losing something really important, and wanted to catch the guy responsible no matter what. The Guild Conference was their best shot at making that happen. Once the Hunter Command Center announced the murder of a top-level hunter, every hunter would have to pay attention. The Hunter Command Center wants to keep the good relationship we have. Hunter Sung. One of them said. Yeah, sure, and that's why you're here telling me about this guy before it becomes public news. Adam asked, nodding as much as he could with his neck still held tight. Since you were invited too, it would have put you in a tricky situation no matter what. Whether or not this person was really Jin-Woo's father, it would still cause him some trouble. They decided to warn Jin-Woo about Chris's death, and the return of Ilwan Sung, and they wanted to stay on his good side. No one wanted Jin-Woo as an enemy, and that thought lingered in his mind. Lost in deep thought, he studied Adam's desperate eyes and voice, sensing no ill will toward him. If there had been even a hint of hostility from Adam, Jin-Woo would have acted without hesitation. Yet, the photographic evidence before them was undeniable. A creature resembling Jin-Woo's father stood over Hunter Dong-Soo Haj, a Korean-born U.S. citizen, with a foot pressed firmly against his neck. Jin-Woo realized why the Hunter Command Center thought they weren't dealing with a regular person. I hope you get why we had to do this. There was just no other way, Jin-Woo said. After holding on for a moment, Jin-Woo released his grip on Adam's collar. Adam's face turned bright red as he coughed and struggled to catch his breath. Jin-Woo then bent down to pick up the scattered photos. He couldn't believe his eyes. They were definitely pictures of his dad. His pulse pounded as he stared at them. Just then, a voice came over the speakers. We're about to land. The plane touched down smoothly at Incheon Airport. While everyone else was bustling around, Jin-Woo used stealth to slip past the reporters waiting outside. Once he was clear, he called Jinyo. Hey, boss. You're back in Korea. Jinyo's voice sounded happier. Probably because his dad was getting better. But Jin-Woo couldn't muster a smile. I have to go to the US next week, Jin-Woo said suddenly. Wait. Are you talking about the International Guild Conference? I thought you weren't going, Jin-Woo replied in surprise. Things changed. Jin-Woo needed to figure out the truth. Was that creature really his dad? To get proof, that's impossible to doubt. He had no other option but to attend the conference. Can you book me a plane ticket? Jin-Woo didn't hesitate. I'll book 2 round-trip tickets. Boss. Some time passed after Jin-Woo left before Adam could finally stand up. The 2 hunters looked worried as they watched Adam struggling to get up. Are you okay, sir? One of them asked. I'm fine, Adam said, though his voice was shaky, just really tired. They helped him to his feet. Adam had studied how criminals think and had questioned many before, but this time he felt more scared than ever. Jin-Woo looked calm, but his gaze was super intense, like a cold chill that made you freeze. Even though he knew Jin-Woo wasn't going to hurt him, just thinking about those piercing eyes honestly freaked him out. He almost lost it, and peed his pants right there. Then something weird happened. Those photos must have flipped a switch in Jin-Woo because the hunter totally lost it. I mean, I've never seen anyone react like that before. It was wild. But wait, things were about to get even crazier. Adam turned to the 2 hunters. I need to make sure because it happened so fast. Did Hunter Sung move me without touching me? The 2 high-ranking hunters, who had super sharp eyesight, nodded in agreement. I knew it. Adam's mind was blown. He was totally sure that Jin-Woo had telekinetic powers. Telekinesis was a skill only top-level hunters in the country could do, but Jin-Woo used it like it was no big deal. Adam got chills just thinking about it. Adam had just discovered something huge. Someone outside the 5 top national hunters could do the impossible. He grabbed his phone with shaky hands. After a few rings, Mr. Connor picked up. Adam tried to steady his voice. Mr. Connor, I think I've found the 6, he said. Then came the big announcement from the Hunter Command Center about who was invited to the International Guild Conference. KakaoPage Guild, led by Alron Diaz from Mexico. The Temperiscan Guild, with Jin-Woo Sung representing South Korea. Nefertiti Guild, headed by Fabio Garco from Italy. This conference was a massive deal. It brought together top guilds from around the world to talk about what's next for hunters, and Ajin Guild's invitation was creating buzz, not just in Korea but everywhere. The only super strong hunter in their group was the guildmaster. So by inviting them, the Hunter Command Center was basically saying that Jin-Woo was just as good as any of the top hunters from the well-known guilds. And honestly, who could argue with that? Jin-Woo had already proven himself by single-handedly saving both Korea and Japan from some of their biggest threats. His track record spoke for itself. No one questioned Ajin Guild or Hunter Jin-Woo Sung's skills. Everyone was thrilled to see another powerhouse join an event that brought together the strongest from around the globe. News updates about the Japan dungeon break always ended with a reminder. Ajin Guild would be there, and just like everyone else, Korea couldn't wait to see what they'd bring to the table. The conference had everyone super excited, so a TV network asked Jong-in Choi, president of the Hunters Guild, for an interview. Jong-in knew they wanted Jin-Woo, but was still stoked to be on board. At 8 p.m. prime time, live in their studio, Jong-in smiled and said, "Hello. Hi. I'm Jong-in Choi, and I lead a cool group called the Hunters Guild." When I smiled, my neat and tidy grin made some of the girls watching feel a little flutter in their hearts. A bunch of my fans even wrote on the show's website, saying they thought we should have gotten an invite but didn't. The host, who was super nice, bowed to me, and then asked her question, reading right from the teleprompter. "Have you heard about all the buzz surrounding Ajin Guild lately?" President Chai was asked. "How do you feel about that?" Jongin smiled confidently, as he replied, I think the Hunter Command Center made a great call. When asked if he supported their decision, he nodded, saying, absolutely. It's no secret that Ajin is pretty much run by one person. Jongin chuckled, pointing out, and that one person is Hunter Jin-Woo Sung. The host burst out laughing along with him, making the moment light and fun. Without skipping a single word, he continued. If we think of guild members as anyone who can be called into action, then Hunter Sung has hundreds of them. You're referring to his minions, right? Someone asked. Exactly, he replied with a smile. And here's the thing. A Jin guild isn't just strong enough to take on other Korean guilds, but also ones from around the world. All thanks to Hunter Sung. Another person questioned in disbelief. He nodded firmly. Yes, because of him. Jongin's unwavering support for Jin-Woo stirred up a buzz in the crowd, but he didn't back down. He stood by every word he said. Having watched Jin-Woo in action, Jongin had complete faith in the younger hunter. Remembering how Jin-Woo sliced through those terrifying ant magic beasts sent chills down his spine, and made goosebumps pop up all over him. It was hard to believe this was the same guy who used to be an E-rank hunter. The tension in the room grew as Jongin couldn't ignore the huge gap in power between the Ajin guild and his own. The host, looking smug about her question, asked, still, as someone who used to represent Korea at the International Guild Conference. I bet you're pretty jealous of how things turned out. She leaned in, waiting for Jongin's response. Of course, Jongin admitted. I couldn't help but feel envious when I saw him getting to travel overseas. I just renewed my passport and everything, he said with a grin. The crowd burst out laughing at his joke. But then Jongin's smile faded, and his expression turned serious. The audience quieted down instantly, sensing something important was about to happen. I'm prouder of Hunter Sung than I am jealous of him, he admitted. And the host's eyes lit up with interest. Everyone could tell this was the moment we'd all been waiting for. Their eyes were glued to Jongin's lips as he spoke. He had been on TV enough times to know how to grab people's attention. Jongin froze for a moment, letting the suspense build before he continued. Imagine this, he said, his voice full of excitement. You're face to face with a monster so powerful, you can't imagine beating it. Then, out of nowhere, a hunter shows up, someone you trust with your life to protect you. His words were so heartfelt that they left the host and everyone watching in stunned silence. Jongin's voice echoed through the quiet studio as he added, we're alive today because of Hunter Sung. He looked around at the audience, his expression serious but full of admiration for the hunter who had saved so many lives. He hadn't meant to turn this into such a serious moment, so he smiled to make things lighter. I'm really proud that Hunter Jin-Woo Sung gets to represent Korea, he said. The room erupted in big applause. After finishing the interview and leaving the studio, Jongin's phone buzzed with a call. After he checked the screen. It was director Myung Ki-jae, someone from his team who often gave him advice. Hello, this is Jongin Choi, he answered. President Choi, we've got some good news. The voice on the other end said, we just got the permit for that gate. That appeared in Susodong this morning. It's an A-rank gate, but the readings aren't super high. Someone said, awesome. He grinned at the good news. But then his expression turned thoughtful. Wait, didn't you say Ajin Guild tried to grab this gate? Nope. They've been weirdly quiet lately. It had been 4 days since Jin-Woo got back from Japan. Since then, 4 high-rank gates had appeared near Seoul. The number of high-rank gates had increased rapidly, but there was no movement from Ajin Guild, aka Jin-Woo. The other large guilds in the metropolitan area welcomed the silence from the so-called destroyer of gates and bringer of death to magic beasts. Since then, 4 super powerful gates suddenly popped up near Seoul. These gates kept appearing one after another, but the Ajin Guild, also known as Jin-Woo, didn't make a move. Meanwhile, the other big guilds were breathing a sigh of relief. They were happy that Jin-Woo, the infamous gate destroyer and monster hunter, wasn't causing any trouble for once. But Jongin felt something was off because everything was too quiet and still. He knew more than Yoonho Baek from White Tiger or Tadaju Lim from the Reapers. If someone got super excited about an apple falling from a tree, weren't they kind of acting like monkeys? One person might drool over a free apple while another thinks about why it fell. Jongin wasn't foolish enough to get caught in a stroke of good fortune. Myung-ki chuckled. Either way, our profits are up 40% due to the lack of competition. Another monkey. Excuse me. Never mind. Jongin quickly changed the subject. Did the association say anything? They claim he's been at home resting, and he apparently hasn't been to the guild office recently. Don't overthink it, sir. Probably just prepping for the International Guild Conference, Jongjin said with a shrug. Jongjin shook his head. No way. He's way beyond that. Before his big test, Jin-Woo used to take down 3 or 4 low-ranking gates every single day. After becoming an S-rank hunter, he started raiding gates in other people's territories. And let's not forget, he even handled an S-ranked dungeon emergency in Japan, all on his own. Jin-Woo was that kind of hunter, the type who always seemed to be in the middle of the action. The more he thought about it, the more Mayunki realized Jongjin was probably onto something. The director was also curious why wasn't hearing a peep from Ajin Guild. Where there were magical beasts, Jin-Woo Sung usually showed up, and Jin-Woo couldn't have been that worn out after their big battle with the giant. So Jongjin's suspicions weren't totally off base.
You're right, Mayunki said.
Wait a second. Wasn't today the day Ajin Guild was supposed to interview some new recruits? Hunter Sung didn't show up at the guild, right? Someone asked. No, he wasn't there, came the reply. Vice President Yu handled the interviews alone. Jongjin paused for a moment before asking coolly, how do you know that? Director Joe. I'm dying. Boss. Jinyo groaned over the phone. The comment made Jin-Woo crack a smile. Poor Jinyo was clearly exhausted from interviewing all those applicants. He'd narrowed it down to just a few hundred, which was pretty impressive for someone his age. As vice president, he was doing a great job. It wasn't surprising, though the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He could be a bit clumsy sometimes, but he had the same business instincts as Chairman Yu, who was born to be a business superstar. Thanks to Jin handling all the guild work, Jin-Woo had the freedom to do whatever he wanted. Thanks for everything you've done, Jin-Woo said. You're welcome, boss. Jin-Ho replied with a grin. Hey, how's everything over there? Jin-Woo asked, glancing around curiously. Here, he replied, a bit puzzled, as he turned to look behind him. Soldiers on standby nodded, signaling they were ready for action. He flashed a confident grin. Same old, same old. I'll probably be running late today, so don't hold up for me. Got it, boss, came the response. Jin-Woo hung up and handed his phone and belongings to an employee at the Hunters Association office. Jin-Woo stretched his neck and shoulders with a sigh of relief. He always felt this light, bouncy energy when he was getting ready for a raid. It was like his body was saying,
All right, let's do this.
Just then, the guy from the association came over to chat. You know, if people found out you were clearing high-level dungeons and dangerous zones, you'd be famous overnight, he said with a grin. Why keep it such a secret? Jin-Woo just smiled and shrugged. I like keeping things low-key, he said simply. The man's eyes welled up with tears. There was something about Jin-Woo's humble attitude that really got to him. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call. I'll do whatever it takes. Know whatever it takes. Know whatever it takes. Jin-Woo wasn't totally sure if he caught every word, but as long as everything worked out, he didn't mind. Jin-Woo gave an awkward smile, clapped the employee on the back, and headed toward the gate. The soldiers snapped to attention as they parted like a curtain for him. This was no ordinary gate. It was an A rank, the highest level. Jin-Woo was zipping back and forth between Korea and Japan, taking care of all these super tough gates that Japan couldn't handle right now. This was all made possible thanks to a Japanese satellite that could scan for magic energy, and something called shadow exchange. Jin-Woo looked up, and his eyes widened. The gate before him was massive, just what you'd expect from an A-rank gate. Booking gates in Japan was cheaper, and the government had even promised him tax-free profits as a bonus, but better than any money. Jin-Woo pretty much had all the gates in Japan to himself, because of how weak the country's guilds were at the moment. Then there were the Demon Monarch's daggers. Of damn, the sound filled the air as they appeared in Jin-Woo's hands. Oh, one of the soldiers exclaimed, eyes wide with shock. Jin-Woo looked down, feeling embarrassed. He held back a laugh and walked toward the gate. Only 3 days left until the big conference. He had promised himself he wouldn't waste a single day, so he threw himself into the game. The familiar voice and chime greeted him again. Faking. You have entered a dungeon, Jin-Shul asked cautiously. You're okay with this, right? President Go didn't seem worried about the news at all. Problem with what? Hunter Sung keeps going to Japan. The Hunters Association of Korea tracks their members using special phones. Under President Go's orders, Jin-Chul had been giving false info when anyone asked about Jin-Woo's whereabouts. What if Hunter Sung decides to stay in Japan? If that happened, Korea would lose its best hunter. Jin-Chul was really worried. But President Go, who thought super highly of Jin-Woo, stayed quiet in a weird way about his recent actions. This made Jin-Chul even more frustrated. President Go chuckled at how anxious Jin-Chul seemed. "Don't worry about it," he said with a smile. "So Jin-Woo told you something then?" Jin-Chul asked curiously. "He came to see me before he left for Japan to battle the giants." President Go replied. Remembering the visit, Jin-Chul nodded. Understanding. President Go had already shared Jin-Woo's bold plan publicly. "I tried to talk him out of it." President Go admitted. "The risks are big, and unlike Yuri, Jin-Woo didn't get offered a lot of money." Jin-Chul agreed with a nod, showing he got the point. Jin-Woo only asked for one thing: the right to decide what happened to the remains of the magic beasts. Considering he saved an entire nation, it seemed like a small price to pay. With cities collapsing every day, there wasn't much time to haggle. It couldn't be helped. But President Go, who was supposed to protect the country's hunters, ignored a big warning sign. It didn't make sense that he let Jin-Woo go. President Go remembered what happened next, and smiled. Jin-Chul was super curious about what he would say. "What did he say?" "He told me that he wants to expand Ajin Guild's territory, all the way to Japan," President Go replied. Jin-Chul's eyes widened in shock.
What?
He couldn't believe what he was hearing. President Go had been just as stunned when Hunter Sung first shared the news. He said that Japan's biggest guilds are in shambles because of the chaos from Jeju Island and those giant monsters. But Sung is totally sure Ajin Guild can step in and take over. Jin-Chul's jaw dropped. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Jin-Woo had been planning this all along, even before defeating the giants. Was it just blind confidence? Or was he some kind of strategic genius? Jin-Woo had somehow managed to pull it off and achieve his goal. This was an offer Japan would gladly accept. How could I possibly stop him after that? While other big guilds were busy fighting over territories in the small area of Seoul, Jin-Woo ventured across the ocean to Japan. When it came to tracking animals, knowing where to find the best hunting spots made him a top-notch hunter. Jin-Woo was born to hunt. No challenge was too tough for him. President Go was super impressed. "This young man is truly amazing," he said. "Imagine being able to zip between Korea and Japan without even hopping on a planet." That's exactly what Jin-Woo could do. But what really stood out was his ability to set huge goals and actually achieve them. Right then, the TV showed a clip of Jong-in's interview. "I'm so proud that hunter Jin-Woo Sung gets to represent Korea," he said with a smile. President Go leaned back, laughing heartily at how awesome Jin-Woo was. The clock on the wall read 9 o'clock. President Go turned off the TV. It was late for an office night, but Jin-Chul still had something to talk about. "China is asking for information about Hunter Sung," he said. "What kind of information?" President Go asked. "Do they want his private details?" "No, sir," Jin-Chul replied. "They're looking for stuff that's public like his raid records, or any news stories about him." That made sense.